Hi, welcome to episode 9 of my kind of a podcast. I realized a couple of things when I was editing my last video. The first one is that I always have this sign at the back showing the episodes numbers as I upload them. So it had me actually thinking about the fact that if ever one day I felt like I wanted to delete one of the episodes because I was no longer happy with it or whatever, anyone looking at my channel would be able to see that something is missing. But anyway, that is a choice that I made when I started, so I am not sure I can now just discontinue it. Let's see how it goes. For now, I am on episode 9. I have my sign that says so, and hopefully in the future I'm not so ashamed of any of the videos I put out so far that I have to take them down. This video today was actually inspired by a Twitter feud, I guess, something I saw the other day while I was browsing Twitter, and which I saw referenced in a couple of other videos, but my opinion appeared to be that of the minority in that regard, and that's why I wanted to make a video about it and kind of discuss the opinions of a person with my kind of ethnic origin or ethnic background on the issue. So this whole story, I came across it on Twitter, like I said. It actually had my blood boiling. Quite literally, I could feel my ears turn hot while I was reading about the story and about some of the comments that I saw, that I read on the topic. So it was regarding blackfishing. So in case you don't know what that is, blackfishing is a portmanteau word that was created by jamming together catfishing and black. So catfishing is when someone pretends to be someone else, someone they are not, usually on the internet, and usually with the intention of scamming or deceiving somebody. Most of the cases of catfishing involve somebody being scammed out of their hard-earned money by somebody else pretending to be another person who is faking a relationship with them. Within this fake relationship, at some point, the genuine party is usually required to send money or assist the other person in some way, and the catfish will use someone else's pictures and pass them as their own. And sadly, there are still a lot of people who are in dire need of love and companionship, and who will fall for these kind of lies. Blackfishing, on the other hand, is when people pretend to be black or mixed race for aesthetic reasons. It usually involved wearing dark foundation, certain hairstyles, and fashion to transform into a racially ambiguous looking person. There were a few cases of blackfishing that surfaced on Instagram a while ago, where a bunch of white girls were using literal blackface to make themselves look like they were not actually white. The most well-known case was probably that of Rachel Dolezal, although hers was more a case of psychological trauma than a quest for that cool urban aesthetic. Well, this is actually a callback to a previous episode, which is episode 4, that is titled They Want to Be Us. Because black is the new cool, the new hip, and the new fashionable. The case of blackfishing that came to my attention recently was that of Chloe Scantlebury. She's a UK model who works for Pretty Little Thing, among other brands. On a recent photo shoot for that brand, she was said to have had her complexion darkened with makeup or Photoshop in order to make her look black, when she's literally a white woman. This conclusion was based on the fact that she does not look black, and also on the fact that there was a web page online which is now defunct that lists her ethnicity as Caucasian. Before I go any further in this video, I would like to make a couple of things very clear. First of all, I do not approve of the practice of dressing up as a black person when you're not one. I do not approve of it when it is for aesthetic reasons, when it is a symptom of some kind of psychological damage, and I certainly do not approve of it as a means to get attention or to get people to talk about you. Secondly, I understand the damage that is done when the fashion industry tries to benefit from blackness without getting any actual black people involved. I know it is an outrage when white or lighter skinned models have their complexions darkened for a photo shoot or a catwalk, while actual dark-skinned models do not get hired in the first place. What I have an issue with are the comments about her legitimacy to call herself mixed race, and more specifically a quarter black. She argues that since one of her father's parents is from Barbados, her father is half black, and it makes her a quarter black. But some people believe she has no claim to blackness because she doesn't even look black, or because of her name. I have to stress, however, that the comments I have seen along those lines mostly came from African American people, which is an important fact to keep in mind. Blackness does not mean the same thing in the Caribbean as it does in the US. I have seen people argue that Chloe Scantlebury's father looks more like an Indian or a coolie than he does a black man. Others have argued that there is a clear distinction to be made between Afro-Caribbean people and Indo-Caribbean people, because there has been waves of population from India as well as Africa to the Caribbean, and she looks Asian anyway. This is the part that sent my blood pressure through the roof, because that's not how any of this works. First of all, I would need American people to gain a better understanding of the history and the culture of the Caribbean before they start making categories of people of the Caribbean. Yes, for sure, there have been several waves of immigration from Europe, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, each with varying degrees of reluctance to take on the journey. And yes, I am trying to avoid talking about the slave trade here. But contrary to a lot of Europeans who tried very hard not to mix in with the rest of the population, a vast majority of the non-African immigrants have very much thrown their seed into the gene pool, to the point where it is pretty much impossible to find a Caribbean person whose ancestors arrived a few generations ago and who is still only of his ancestors' ethnic origins. Blame it on colorism or texturism maybe, but Black people of the Caribbean never had issues dating outside of their race. Also, please take into account the fact that the history of the Caribbean people is based on slavery, which involved its fair share of rape and has the whole Atlantic Ocean in the middle of it. We were not afforded the luxury of a complete family tree. Therefore, we are Black people, and that's it. We do not base our Blackness on facial features or hair texture or skin complexion. And frankly, if we were to go by the American definition by which being Black means belonging to a race that was enslaved, has been systematically disenfranchised and exploited for centuries, and is still marginalized on their own land to this day, you will be hard pressed to find a people who qualifies for the title more than the Caribbean people. Race is a social construct, and its basis is a reflection of the society it originates from. The racial bloodlines are simply way too blurred in the Caribbean for anyone to be able to claim this, that, or the other ethnic background. Therefore, we are Black, and it is not up to others to dissect our features and decide for us on which side of the Blackness fence we can stand. We do not wish to participate in your reverse brown paperback test. Our Blackness is not up for interpretation, and especially not by people who are happy to claim Mariah Carey, Alicia Keys, Aaliyah, or Halsey as one of theirs, but deride Chloe Scantlebury for wanting her quarter Black Caribbean heritage to be counted. I am Black, and it is not up for discussion. A long time ago, I was a member on a forum board catering mostly for African Americans, and one of the members was an African woman born and raised in Africa who had moved to the US as an adult. And one day she made a comment about the fact that I wasn't even really Black anyway because of my light skin. To which I replied that sometimes people in the Caribbean are light skinned because we are mixed. To which she triumphantly responded that I had just proven her point. We are mixed, therefore we're not Black. This was the first time I was ever introduced to that strange concept by which I would only be able to call myself Black if I came directly from the motherland or looked the part or something. I'm not even sure how anyone could ever claim to have pure Black blood running through their veins at this point. In the history of the world, unless you are from an uncontacted tribe or something, and even then, your 23andMe profile would not show just one origin, I don't think. If I'm honest, I much prefer the method of self-identification that we use in the Caribbean, particularly because when it's all said and done, it doesn't even matter, or at least it shouldn't. Here are tweets that I read when I was looking into the Twitter thread about this whole thing, and it really spoke to me because I completely agree. Blackness does not mean the same thing to every Black person, and I think it's very important when looking at these kind of issues that we do not look at it from this Americanocentric point of view of what Blackness is and what Blackness means, because there is a lot of ways by which somebody can claim their own Blackness, and that poor girl didn't need to be derided in that way, in my humble opinion. So this is very much all I had to say on the subject. I would love to hear what you guys think and how you guys feel about the whole thing. Is a quarter black enough to count, or is she just a white girl? And yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but I no longer have a squeaky chair, and that is because I went all the way and bought a new chair instead of putting some WD-40 on it. I hope you enjoyed the silence in the background of this video, and I hope to see you next time when we will talk about something completely different. Bye.